This is Xander, and this is Before the Journey, My Early Childhood, Part 4. Before I continue, I would like to say if you have not watched the first 3 parts of the series, please stop this video right now and watch them. Cannot stress the importance of watching the beginning before you get into the next part because you'll get lost if you start from here. So, let's do a quick recap. So, in the last part, I mentioned my brother's birthday, my birthday. I mentioned a couple things I went through on punishments with my adoptive father. And I also mentioned us going to Disney, which I may have mentioned a bit too soon. So, with that said, I like to rewind a little bit before going to Disney and tell you a little more about what happened at the end of 1993 after my 7th birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, which is where I should have left off to begin with. Okay. Alright. Okay. After my 7th birthday party, I remember my biological father's side of the family wanted to have one last get together with me and one last birthday celebration before I no longer be in their lives anymore. So, my mother, being nice, she took me to where they were at, and they had a little birthday celebration for me. It was a little late, but I didn't care. Family's family. So, we had a birthday celebration. A couple of kids came. Family showed up. And you know me, when it comes to birthday celebrations, and when you're a kid, you start to think, okay, birthday presents. Unfortunately, I had a birthday cake, and the little cars that's on my birthday cake that was my birthday present. So I'm like, well, at least you guys were nice to give me a cake. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm 7 years old. I would have liked maybe one present. But I didn't really mention that. I didn't want to come off selfish. So, they had a little birthday get together. They sang me happy birthday. I got the little cars off the thing. I played with them. Hung out with some of the kids. Was all in all, good birthday party. And yeah, as any other boy, I had my shirt off. I do have pictures of this event. Ask me if you want to look at them. So, yeah, and that's probably the only picture I have with my grandma. Let me correct myself. With my grandmother on my biological father's side. And I enjoy the fact that at least I had one picture with her. So, after that was the final time I'd see them. And it would be a while before I'd ever see most of them again. So after the little get together, it was back to the base again. So, I would say in October, I don't remember a lot that happened in October, but I do remember Halloween. Yep, Halloween. I remember my school was having a little costume thing where we can dress up in our costumes. And for me, I lucked out. I was Robin Hood. I didn't need no makeup. My brother, he was a lion. He had to wear makeup. I basked in the glory that I didn't have to wear makeup. My brother did, and he didn't like it all that much, but my mom was like, you need to put this on. So they took me to my mother and my mother and my adoptive dad took me to school that morning and took my brother to daycare. It was a great Halloween. Later that night, we all went to my adoptive grandparents' house. Me, my brother, my cousins, one being older than me by months and then the other one being younger than me for a couple years. One was a girl, she dressed up like a princess. And the younger one was a boy, he dressed up as one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm dressed up like Robin Hood. My aunt is dressed up like Cleopatra, our Egyptian girl. My brother's dressed up like a lion. We're all getting ready to go trick-or-treating. My grandfather, who is my adoptive grandfather, decides to videotape us. Puts us on candid camera. And I remember him like tape recording all of us and saying, hey Robin. I go up to the camera and I'm like, I'm Robin Hood. And I just had fun with the camera. We had a nice time trick-or-treating. We went all around the neighborhood because I think when you're around the base, you don't have much chances of trick-or-treating. So my mother, my adopted dad wanted to make sure our Halloween was awesome. So we just went trick-or-treating all over the place. Later, coming back after trick-or-treating and getting our candy checked, my grandfather wants to hear my brother or myself sing the national anthem. My brother's like, no, I'm not going to sing it. And may I remind you, all of this is videotaped. All of this documented, videotaped. Somewhere with my adopted dad. So yeah, this whole entire scenario, most of the scenario is videotaped. And I do recall, excuse my voice, being the one to sing the national anthem. But I never thought me singing that would be my dream later in life. So I sang the national anthem, everybody liked it, they rooted me on, even though I was pitchy. Then my grandfather's like, it's your turn. My brother's like, no. He didn't want to sing it, but I guess I had the balls to sing it anyways. So after Halloween, I don't know pretty much what we did of Thanksgiving of 93. But I do recall Christmas of 93, we got presents. It may have not been like a full-fledged Christmas tree, maybe somewhere else. But coming back home, we got presents. We had toys. I mean, I had a G.I. Joe toy that was like Barbie doll size, but more for boys, like action figures. My brother got some stuff for kids his age. Probably Barney tapes, I don't know. Yep. Turned out to be a good Christmas. And of course, they did have to mention Santa Claus back then because we were still young and, you know, we still believed in Santa Claus at that time. And my mom was like, Santa Claus brought these gifts, and he said, we don't, and asked why we don't have a chimney. And I'm like, wow, Santa didn't forget about us. Really, it was the parents who did it. But back in that time, yeah, I still believed in Santa Claus, so I didn't really think about that. So I think after Christmas is when we went to Disney. And that's was mentioned in part 3. So let's skip ahead to 94 now. Alright. 1994. Remember that year quite well. Year of movies and a whole bunch of awesomeness. I remember not so much of 94, but I do remember one of the things of 94. Meeting my cousin Will, who I used to call Billy. Now, we met when we were real little, but actually knowing him and remembering him, would come back later down the line. So to me, this was like, when you're little, you don't remember much. So to me, 7 going on 8 at this time, this was like my first time meeting him. So I met him, and seemed like a pretty cool kid. 9 going on 10. Big fan of, hockey and football. Little on the heavy side, but I never judged him. I loved him. We had fun. We played with his toys for a little bit, and we hung out. But what I didn't know is that me hanging out with him would be one of the best friendships I would have as a kid. He would not only be like, a friend to me, but he'd be like an older brother. An older brother I didn't have when I was a kid. See, I was the older brother to the brother I had. My cousin would step in as an older brother when that time came. So we hung out more frequently because our moms were like sisters. And his mom was like an aunt to me, so I called her aunt instead of looking at her as a cousin. And our mothers just got along great. They hung out a lot. So me and Billy, at the time, would hang out a lot. So it's kind of like a family tradition, which I thought was awesome. You see, our mothers were like sisters, and Billy and I were like brothers. And I'm hoping that family tradition continues. So, I remember we went to the movies a lot. And I believe it was the AMC theaters. We saw a bunch of movies that year. And I do recall one of them being Blank Check. And of course, summertime rolled around. And I remember my cousin, Billy, and my mother's sister, who's my aunt, were going to see The Mask. Remember this day quite well. It was nighttime. They were going to see The Mask. And his mom was going to do something fun with my brother and I. I didn't want to do the fun thing. I wanted to go to the movies. So I threw a fit, temper tantrum, if you will. And it got to the point where I finally got my way. And I went and saw The Mask. My aunt was pretty mad. She didn't want me around her, so me and Billy hung out and sat in the same row. And this was my first Jim Carrey movie I ever seen, and I loved it. It was the summertime of '94, and we were enjoying a real funny movie. Probably the first, maybe the third PG-13 rated movie I ever seen as well. And I tell you, that movie was awesome on the big screen. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And we got done seeing the movie, and his mom picked us up, and we got to talking about it. I mean, during that time, none of us were old enough to see a PG-13 rated movie. I was 7 going on 8. My cousin Billy was 9 going on 10. And my aunt, I believe, just turned 12 years old. None of us were old enough to see that movie. But for some weird reason, we got in to see it. We got in to see a PG-13 rated movie. So, and my aunt being older, she didn't even look her age. So I guess the ticket salesman bought it that she was older than she looked. So we get back, and Billy's mom picks us up onto me, and we're basically talking about the movie. My brother, of course, he's jealous, and he's like, I want to see it now. So we go back to see The Mask for the second time so my brother can see it. And then I think somewhere later in that year, I went to go see The Lion King, the original Lion King, twice in theaters. Once with the family, once with my, daycare center. Twice. Got to see the original twice in theaters, and it was an awesome experience. Like, really awesome experience. I'll never forget it. I also saw The Page Master in theaters as well. That was an awesome experience. Page Master, the Macaulay Culkin, Christopher Lloyd. Very good movie. Very good movie. These are movies that I'm mentioning to you that I still like to this day. Remind me a lot of my childhood. Yep. All in all, 94 was a great year. And I do recall one thing, though. It got later in 94. Things have been going very sour in the relationship between my adoptive dad and my mother. And when I mean sour, I mean really sour. And it got to a point where, the relationship was just going down, 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 down. They never got us involved, even though, we knew something was wrong. Apparently, my mother had an affair with my adoptive dad. I never knew about that. Kind of explains why she wasn't around a lot. And the guy she had an affair with would become my stepdad later down the line. Because she fell in love with him, and she was falling out of love with my adoptive dad. I guess my adoptive dad got word of it and we're just a bunch of kids. We're still playing with toys and, minding our own business. But one thing led to another, and my adopted dad lost his cool, and he hit my mother. Just flat out hit her. It wasn't right. It wasn't okay. It was horrible. After that, she said, that's it. She wanted a divorce. My brother and I were going to be living with her. We had no choice. We were young. She was taking custody of my brother and I. She didn't want us living with my adopted dad. And my adopted dad would end up having to pay child support. This was the end of the base life, basically. We had a good year. And what we didn't know is now came time for us to be moving around a lot. And we were going to have like a couple of years of moving around. A lot of memories too. But a couple of years until we would go into the home, which would be somewhat of a childhood home for us on Timberwood Drive, which I'll mention later. But I think my mom didn't want us involved because she knew deep down it was a bad idea and she didn't want us, to be worried. And, she was falling out of love with the army man she once knew. So it was like, something new for us. And even though, we were going to have to move to another place, my mom had a plan. Before that happened, my aunt, my mom, and some of her friends saw the first Jurassic Park. My brother and I weren't allowed to see it. My mom thought it'd be too scary for us. But back to where I was at. So we had to pack up our stuff and get ready to start moving to another place. My mother also took her sister with us, which is my aunt, and we got ready for what would be a new adventure, if you will. I think, my 8th birthday was good. Don't exactly remember it all that well. My brother's 4th, I don't remember that, but I do recall us leaving late 94. Probably after school let out. Or before school let out. I don't know. Before school started, I don't know. But I do recall late 94 we left the base. I have memories there. Fond memories. But my mother felt it was time to go. And so began our lives, moving around a lot. On a quest to actually get on a quest for a childhood home. Or what we would think would be a childhood home. So I end this by saying, y'all take care and God bless you.